Hi there, it's Rachel from scrapeahappy.blogspot.com with a crafty video. You may have noticed that the introduction to my video today was a little different. I had a computer crash about a month ago, and I've been trying to get my computer back on track, and all my personalized intro pages have gone missing, but I just haven't had the time to redo them. So my beginning of my videos look a little different, but you're still going to get a great crafty project today. So today, this is a sidestep card that we're making, and we're making it for, I'm making it for the All That Scraps Wednesday Challenge blog. And the idea of their challenge for the next 2 weeks is to make a card that is a unique or different looking card, fancy fold card. So they had gate cards and sidestep cards and a whole bunch of different suggestions. So I thought I would make a sidestep card today. Now these directions for this card, I've gone ahead and already done it, but I used Janie Ma Jazzkey. I'll just put the name of the person down here, and I'll put a link to her video if I can in my information box. And her tutorial was easy to follow, and I just went step by step, and I used my score pal. She gave great measurements for a score pal. And the title of her video is how to make an A6 sidestep card. So it's really to find if you just do a search in YouTube. So this is what the sidestep card looks like once it's folded. So I was going to use for this stamp this CC Designs digital stamp, and I have colored her and cut her out already. And I'm not a Copic colorer. I just use these type of markers here to color her, so I don't get the depth the same as you would with the Copics, but I'm okay with that. So this is called Kiki Flower, I believe. And then I've also used lots of things from Cricut. So these little trees we're going to use today, and they were cut out at 2 inches from the Gypsy Wanderings cartridge. I have 2 of those. This little house was cut out from Create a Critter, also at 2 inches. These were also cut out from Gypsy Wanderings. They were miscellaneous. The size of this I'm not sure of. I just sized it in relation to the house in my Gypsy to fit the card. And then the final piece is this cute little fence from the Bloom cartridge. And this particular cartridge has a whole bunch of layers for the flowers, but I'm not good sometimes with getting those to cut out very well and the patience to glue them on. So what I did is I colored in the stems and then used this daisy punch here to make the flowers, and I just put it over top of where they were supposed to go. And another reason I had to do that is because I cut this from the Bloom cartridge at 2 inches real dial size. So when you do real dial size with the Cricut, you can't get proper layers. So those are all the pieces. So I'm going to make a little scene with this. So this is, I have 2 other cuts that I'm using here. These are cloud cuts from the Create a Critter cartridge. It's an accessory. However, these were cut out for another project, and when I make extras I put them into a die cut box, so I have no idea what size those are. So what I've done is gone ahead and done some cutting. So this, which was great, was cloud paper that I already had in my stash. So what I'm just doing is inking it with blue just to make it a little bit more interesting. And this particular cloud paper was cut out to be 2 inches by 4.5 inches, which is the dimensions of this little part here. So I'm going to first adhere this down, because this particular card is going to have lots of different layers, and I think that's what makes it these type of fancy sidestep old cards interesting to look at. So I'm just going to carefully glue that down on the side here. Okay, so there's the background for the clouds. Okay, now the next layer that I'm going to do is the grass layer. Now I don't have a border punch with grass, so what I did is I pulled out, I haven't used these in years, some decorative scissors, and I thought I had the grass ones, but I think I brought those to work for my students to use. So I use this one instead, and it gives a nice grass border. So I measured this, which is 2 inches, but I added 1/4 of an inch, so when I cut it out, there's just a bit over the top, just a little bit of a free edge hanging off the side. So I'm just going to adhere that down. So you want to get it as close to that fold as possible. So then it just pops up like that. There we go. So there's our first layer. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next layer. Now this was cut at 1 3/4 inches wide and 4 inches this way again. Just the exact same dimensions of the second step. Trying something a little different as I make this card. I'm standing up, but this is a desk level, so I'm leaning over a bit. So I'm hoping you can see well and that this works. Just trying something different to make sure that I stay in the shot. Okay, so then there we go. You can see our grass layer is coming together. Now this one, this bottom row layer or step is 1 inches, but I wanted it to go all the way across to get that layering happening. So this is cut out at 1 1/4 inch, cut it across, and then it's 6 inches wide, so it will go all the way across the bottom of the card. So just use my ATG to adhere that down. And making sure it lines up nicely. So there we go. There is our card that we can start adding the pieces to. Now I've really just tried to figure out whether I should put the house on this layer with the fence here, or the fence at the back and the house at the front. But if I do that, then I won't see, if I put the house in front, you won't get to see those pretty little flowers and bling on there. So I'm going to take my husband's suggestion when I asked him to do the house on the very back layer. But I want to add some dimension to this as well. So I am going to put this tree as the first layer, and that's what's going to give this card some interesting dimension. And because this is a card that's going to stand up, I really don't feel that this is going to be enough grip for the card, so I'm going to put that down like so, so that it can stick. And then when it's up like that, you'll be able to see the little tree. And so then when I put this house down, I'll be able to stick it to the tree with my dimensions as well as to the back. So I'm going to put dimensions, foam squares, all the way along the side here, all and around across the bottom, so that it'll be able to stick nicely to the card. Because as I said, you have to use pretty heavy cardstock to be able to get this to stand up nicely. So there we go. And then you can just see you have a little bit of a dimension. And then you can see with this house, just to make it a little bit more interesting, I did some black stitching around the roof and the house and the window, and then I used a little bit of bling where the door handle is. I want to just take all these foam squares off. I know this isn't very interesting to watch, but oops, not quite straight. Okay, and then I'm going to put this tree layered to the house. But I'm not going to use pop dot. Well, I wonder if I should use pop dots. Actually, maybe I will. That's what's going to give this card lots of depth and interest to look at. So you're just creating a little scene, and then it's something that can be displayed for a little while on the recipient's display area, desk, or whatever it happens to be. There. Okay. So there is the first layer. Okay. Now the next layer is going to be the fence, and I think this time I'm going to use my quick dry adhesive, just so I have a little bit more time to slide it around and get it on where I think is best. And as I said, I cut this out at 2 inches, and that seemed to get this exactly where I wanted it to. So I can center it on the card, and I'm putting it down a little lower so that when the card's out like this, it's hard to see. You can still see the house between it. I'll have pictures of this after, okay? And then, I think I'm going to try sitting down. I'm getting my sore back here. So then the next step is to add some dimension with clouds onto the layer here. So I just like to ink and do some inking just so that you could also emboss these, but I'm just not going to take the time to do that for this one. Okay, and again, I'm going to use some dimensions, some foam squares, and you need to plan the foam squares for where it's going to be able to stick. There we go. And then I wonder if this one should just go layered behind it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my quick dry adhesive, and always put the cap back on right away. It helps with, okay, so there is the cloud, and I like that because now it's hanging over a little bit over the tree when it's closed up like this, so I do like that effect. So lots of depth. Now the last step is to put some flowers on this first layer, so then you can see that the flower, it looks like she picked the flowers for the recipient. So because these are so delicate, I am going to put some glue on the stem, but I'm going to do the main attaching at the leaf. And I might only actually need 3. We'll see. Okay, and now I haven't cut out the daisies yet, so I'm going to punch that with some pink cardstock here. This is just some scrap left over from my 1, 2, 6 I need. Okay, so with those ones there, I did 2 layers, and probably what I should have done is glued these ahead of time onto the stems. But I like to do things difficult, especially when I'm filming, so bear with me as I attach these to the flowers. Do another one. So I like layering, it just gives a bit more depth. Oops. And the last one. I used tweezers for one of the other flowers. When I let go, I accidentally ripped off a flower, so I'm all thumbs when it comes time to doing this at the moment. And stick this down like so. Not so that it sticks to the paper. Oh, this one needs a bit more glue. So there we go. So there's the layers. And then the last step, because part of this challenge is that you do need to use a CC Designs or a stamp that's sold in the All That Scraps store, and so this one certainly is. She's very cute, and they're digital stamps. Although I'm not working for this company, I just like talking about things that I enjoy using, are really reasonably priced stamps, and their challenges are a lot of fun too. So I'll stick her down here like so. So she pops up, and then the last little thing I think is that we just need a little bit of bling so that matches the daisies behind it. And stick that down there. And then the last thing is to put some sort of a sentiment on here, which is the last step. I'm going to just put it along there and pop it up. But I have to decide what sentiment I'm going to use, and then check out the pictures so you can have a look at this card closer and see what sentiment I ended up choosing. Thanks so much for joining me for this episode of Let's Get Crafty. And if you happen to make a side step card, please let me know. I'd love to look at it, especially if this project inspired you with one of your own. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Let's Get Crafty, and we'll see you next time. Bye!